what's a misconception about your profession that you're tired of hearing? Well, I'm a software engineer and I'm a life coach, but I'm more interested in talking about the life coach aspect of this question. So, life coaching. What are the biggest misconceptions? I think the biggest misconception tends to actually be around. I think it's twofold. Number one is how other people view life coaching. But I think there is also a big group of misconceptions that come from life coaches themselves. So, I think partly this happens because life coaching is an unregulated field. So, you could start calling yourself a life coach and there's nothing anyone can do about that. Because why? There's no like official licenses for it, right? So, I got certified through like two organizations, but it doesn't mean anything, right? Because it just means that this a governing body decided to give me a certification. And now I could make my own certification program, and if you watch 5 of my YouTube videos, I'll give you the July Life Coach certification. There's nothing that stops me from doing that, right? So, because this is such an unregulated field, and there are widely different like skill levels beyond this, because it is a profession after all, right? And so there is a skill level incorporated into it. Um, that's why I think the misconceptions tend to happen. So from the public side, I think the biggest misconception is that it's all a scam, right? And and you know what? To be honest, when I look at this Reddit thread and I look at all these other comments, it's basically the same kind of I see a lot of the same category of the misconception. People generalize based on the kind of worst expectation, right? So, for example, I saw a comment that's like, um, lawyer here. Just because you fail to understand the nuance doesn't mean it's a loophole, right? So this assumes like people think that lawyers are basically scammers, right? So I think something similar happens in life coaching. That's like, oh, like, but you're so young, and like, what the fuck do you know about life? And something that I used to get when I was starting out was, oh, like you're like a guy, so what do you know? Because why? Like life coaching is a very female dominated field, right? So you're a dude. You're not sensitive about everything. That's one thing. Another thing is like, oh, but like you're so young. So what do you know about life? So and the other thing is like you don't even have kids, and basically all these assumptions about like that has nothing to do with my skills, but it's more about how people view like the general perception of life coaching, which is again it's all sort of weird because number one it's seen as a scam, but on the other hand I should have everything figured out, uh, but also like you gotta have both be true. I don't know. So that's one category of the biggest like misconception, and the second category of life coaching, how it's perceived by life coaches is that it's meant to be a lucrative field. It's not. Um, the top earners, like any other field, make a lot of money, but not everybody is like that. In fact, most of the life coaches I know are making a very modest living, or they are operating at a loss, and they often have another job or supplemental income to kind of make up for the lack of income that comes from the investment in life coaching. So, why did this misconception happen? It's because how life coaching is was kind of marketed by the people who kind of pioneered the field of life coaching, right? There are some prominent like big name figures, and how do you tell people that you're thriving in life through the usage of a skill of living life excellently? A very good and convincing way to do that is to show off your material success. Because why? Like, you could totally go the route of Eckhart Tolle, and you can just be like, oh, I'm just a spiritual person, and you could totally go the path of like Dalai Lama or like Venerable Pomyun Sinim, and you can live a life of modesty, and you don't need to flaunt your wealth. But at the same time, like when you look at material success, like that is an avenue of life where one could choose to participate in. And if you're so good at living life, wouldn't you be good at potentially living out all these kind of different aspects of life? Wouldn't you be like a kick-ass mom? Wouldn't you be like a really good like wife? Wouldn't you be a really great person? Wouldn't you be really a great coach? Wouldn't you be also materially successful? Wouldn't you be also very philanthropic? So um material success has is a big part of that, right? So, and again, people think a lot of in the capitalist society, making a lot of money and having a lot of material success all sort of equates to living life really well, right? So, especially around the field of career coaching, and now because of those figures who kind of catered to that audience's natural need for more or less a thought leader who is excelling in the capitalist sense, that's how the life field of life coaching got really popular, and that's how the field of life coaching got its sort of first and second seeds of mass-produced life coaches. But this is all like in American kind of a perspective, so in Europe it might be a little bit different. But in the end, um, it's not really meant to be a lucrative field because not a lot of people are willing to pay a lot of money to fix their life. So people would much rather spend a lot of money on distractions like big cars and good houses and new phones and things like that because that gives you the more short-term benefits of feeling good right now, right? But life coaching is just really difficult. That you talk about your life. Of course, it's meaningful. It changes your life 100 like 80 degrees, and you get a chance to live the life that you want to live, even when it's hard, right? And you get a clearer sense of the person that you could be, all your potentials, and you get less distracted and potentially unbothered by all these different like parts of your life that used to make it so challenging. And that is, I think, priceless. But again, mass appeal wise, it's much less appealing than a nice Lambo, you know? And so that's, I think, those are the two kind of big misconceptions around the field of life coaching. But I do want to say something about the, spiritual leaders who who are living a life of modesty, and you might be thinking, well, like, if they're so good at living life, shouldn't they also have a lot of material success? And this is something that I learned as I was researching a lot of different teachers and leaders about in the world of life coaching and more specifically Buddhism. So prominent figures in Buddhism and spirituality, they know how to make a lot of money, and they do, but it just doesn't go towards them. So the Buddhism school that I'm kind of affiliated with is called Jungto Society, Jungto, and they have a non-profit organization that's also a non-governmental organization, and it's called Join Together Society. And when you look at the work of Join Together Society, they do a lot of international work around building schools and building shelters and feeding the hungry and developing the infrastructure in rural Bhutan and things like that, right? And that costs a lot of capital. But how do they sustain it? Well, they make a lot of money. But again, it just doesn't go towards benefiting the monk's life. Like the monk isn't gonna buy a new Lambo for himself. No, he still continues to live an extremely modest life, and all the money that comes from donations, all the money that he makes from books and courses and like training programs and things like that, they all go to the non-profit efforts. And I think that is ultimately the sustainable way to make money, right? And so I used to be in the camp of I want to make a lot of bank with life coaching. But you know what? Nowadays, I spend most of my time looking into how am I going to funnel my money so that it goes outwards to people who it more needs. Because I already live in California. I already live in a first world country. all my needs are pretty much taken care of, and you know what, like, well, why else do I need more money, right? So, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna make money. I do make money, but why? In order to benefit those in need and with my perspective. So that's my spiel on life coaching.